welcome to the Anarchy Gaming channel, home to the solar system's worst gamer. My name is Mephisto, your host, and today we are going to continue our Formula 1 My Team career with the third round of the season, the Spanish Grand Prix. But before we begin, I'd like to ask you to leave your thoughts and suggestions in the comment section below. I would also like to point out that we are just over halfway to 1000 subs, and it would be really cool if we could achieve that before the end of the year. So I would really appreciate it if you could help me out with that. Also, don't forget to click the bell icon and turn on all notifications so you don't miss out on any new videos or streams I might be doing. And lastly, could we get this video to maybe 25 likes? That's a pretty reasonable goal, I think so. I think it should be easily achievable, so get to it. Wink wink. Anyway, let's get started.
Our running costs are significantly less than the income we're pulling in. I suggest we start looking for opportunities to spend that profit margin.
Right. But before we do that, let's quickly go to activities and do some stuff here. Yeah, let's do that. So, some of that. Some of that. That can be done as well. And I guess we'll be free on the 18th. Messages. Okay, we are still the worst car on the grid, but this time we're not that far behind the rest, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Also, I am sure I turned this driver stat update last time, but it keeps telling me to do it. I'm not sure what's happening there. Anyway, let's go to aerodynamics, well, R&D here, and see if we can spend any points anywhere. Oh, part failed. Well, that's not good, so we'll have to do that, which means I'm going to be left without points to spend anywhere else. Oh, it's already in development, okay. And I could actually start this. Yeah, sure. And I think we're good, actually. Okay, we no longer have enough points, but let's go into facilities and spend some more of our cash. I have 7.2 million. Let's increase, actually let's go here and increase quality control for aero parts. Okay, so that's where we are right now. Also, I decided to shorten race distances, so this is not where we do that, but I'm going to shorten race distances from 50% to 25% because it's taking way too long to edit. So and my time is pretty short, limited, so you know I can't spend all my time editing videos, and that's why I'm halvening the length of races, but that shouldn't affect us too much. Anyway, let's move on.
I know we were expecting some new developments to come through, but some of them have failed quality control. We'll need to tell the team what to redevelop via the R&D screen.
Well, that's not good. Let's get back to R&D then. Okay, it looks like everything's been done here. Oh, it doesn't look like... Oh, never mind that. Well, let's spend some more. Not enough points. I guess we could get this, or trying to figure out what to get. I'll get this, I think. Okay, so done with R&D. So let's take our seasonal break. Alright, let's fill up the activity area again. I don't really want to waste any of that. No. Wait, go back there. And I'm guessing I cannot use... Okay, so that's all, I guess. Nice, sweet. Sure. Let's go with this. Sure. Let's move on. Okay, another failure. That's not very helpful, but... Okay, and that's... Here's what failed. Let's redo that, and that will leave me with not a lot of money. So that is that. So let's go to the Spanish Grand Prix. Alright, so here we are. Here we are just before starting practice for the Spanish Grand Prix. As I said, I will shorten race lengths to only 25% because it's really taking very long to edit otherwise. But that, again, that shouldn't affect us too much. Weekend preview, that's okay. Weather forecast. Looks like there might be a little bit of rain at the start of the race, but that's not 100%. So let's go practice then.
Okay, so here we are in free practice one, starting off our first program, track acclimatization, which went on pretty well until the very end of the stint where I go quite wide out of the chicane onto the gravel, lose control of the car, and slightly damage my front wing. But the rest of the program went on pretty well, so we do gain quite a bit of points, so that's pretty good. But I do need to pay a little bit more attention in the future, and here we are starting our tire management program. This should probably, hopefully, go well, and it actually does. We are pretty good on tire wear and our speed, so we managed to do quite well in this program. Just one more program left, which is, I believe, the race strategy. As we come around to start our final program, indeed it is race strategy program, so 5 laps. Hopefully we'll be able to improve on our times, and we do. That's the end of the session, and we did pretty well, although I decided to put in 1 extra lap because I didn't quite like where I was in the standing, so P16.
With all the cars now over the line, let's see our top 3 again. Bottas, Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. And if today's practice is anything to go by, we're in for an exceptional weekend of Formula 1.
Alright, moving on to free practice 2 then, and hopefully we'll be able to do a little bit better. Obviously P16 isn't the best, so we do need to try and go quicker and to try and maybe see if we could make it into Q2, maybe even Q3, but that's P15 at the moment, not the best, so we do need to try and push a little bit harder than that. Not quite happy, but oh well.
The session has drawn to a close, so let's review our top 3. Verstappen, Hamilton and Lando Norris. What an incredible practice session. The fun doesn't stop here though. Join us again as the rest of the weekend unfolds.
Thank you, Crafty, and well, that was definitely a practice session. I did a little bit better than P1. Yeah, managed to finish in P16, but it seems like we don't quite have the pace we did in China, so we might be struggling in the race, but we still have 1 more practice session, so hopefully things will be a little bit better there.
Okay, here it is, the final practice session as we start our first lap. Probably the only lap, as it's, you know, cause you might have come accustomed with me, and that exact, Jeff, that's P15, not the best.
It's time to remind ourselves of our top 3, who are Hamilton, Bottas and Lando Norris. Sadly, it's time to say goodbye as free practice is over. However, we'll be back shortly for more Formula 1 action.
Thank you, Crafty. So that is it for free practice 3, and well, we managed to do a little bit better. I managed to be the 15th fastest, or slowest really in this case, but hopefully we'll be able to do a little teeny tiny bit better in qualifying, because if not, it's going to be quite difficult to get up into the points, I would suspect. But anyway, let's move on. Right, and it looks like we have a message before qualifying, and it's from Jeff. Okay, nothing too interesting here. Let's get on with qualifying.
On to Q1 then. Let's try and get into Q2 if possible at all, as we come around to set our first and only lap for Q1, and that puts us into P15. That's hopefully going to stay that way and move on to Q2.
Okay, so by the end of the session, I've been pushed down into P15, but that's more than enough to move us into Q2, which makes me quite happy. The people who've fallen out of qualifying are Guan Yuzhou, Luca Giotto, George Russell, Nicholas Latifi, Nikita Mazepin, and of course Artem Markelov. But let's move on to Q2 now.
So we made it into Q2 as we start our lap in Q for the qualifying once again. hopefully we'll be able to improve our laps, and I managed to pass the line, and that's P15. I wasn't very happy, so I wanted to go try and improve on that.
We need you to move up into the top 10, or we
Yes, indeed, Jeff, thank you. Still couldn't improve it. In fact, I lost a lot of time, and then at the final lap I allocated for myself. I ran out of fuel coming out of the final corner, and that's qualifying over, and that's quite disappointing because this last lap was very good. We might have been able to go into Q1.
Well, unfortunately, we didn't make it into Q3, which is a little bit disappointing, but oh well, we'll have to work with what we have, I guess. So, Pierre Gasly, Lance Stroll, Antonio Giovinazzi, Yuki Tsunoda, myself, and Mick Schumacher also won't make it into Q3. But that is it, so let's move on to the race now, because there's nothing else to do other than go to racing. So I'll catch you on the grid. Oh, and we have some messages, I'm guessing from Jeff. Indeed. Okay, it's pretty good. Okay, nothing yet all that important, so we can now go and race. Hopefully we'll be able to do a decent job, aiming for points again. Maybe even a top 10 finish would be enough for me, but we'll have to wait and see how things work out.
The Spanish Grand Prix has been a permanent fixture on the Formula One calendar for over 30 years now, and for good reason. Do you remember Michael Schumacher's absolute dominance here in that rain-soaked Grand Prix in 1996? That day he took his first ever victory for Ferrari, and we've had many more iconic moments since. The Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya then, a high-speed 2.89-mile circuit which demands an efficient downforce package and bravery on the part of the driver, especially through the blind right of turn 9, which we might just see taken flat this weekend. And I'm joined once again by Anthony Davidson to bring you the lowdown for today's race. Let's talk about Mercedes. We have a number of changes to the aerodynamic regulations this year, and the signs haven't looked good for them so far in terms of getting to grips with those changes.
It doesn't look promising for them so far. And if the new regs have hit them as hard as we think, well, I suspect they may need a few late nights at the factory to get back on track.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position. And it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Leclerc, Lando Norris, and Perez. Ricciardo, Fernando Alonso, Sainz, and Esteban Ocon. Gasly, Stroll, Antonio Giovinazzi, and Tsunoda. Iceman, Mick Schumacher, and Guan Yu Zhou, and Luca Giotto. Russell, Latifi, Mazepin, and Artem Markelov. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
After the points finish last race, let's aim to keep the momentum going.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, let's quickly take a look at our race strategy and see if we can do anything better with our projected settings. And yeah, I think I'll go with the sorry, not projected, personalized. Can't speak. I'll choose that, and I think it's time we go racing.
Alright, so here we are on the grid, just about to start the formation lap, and hopefully we'll be able to do well in this race. We're not starting, our starting position isn't very good. P15, we will have a lot of work to do ahead of us if we want to try and get into the points, which is kind of what I would like to. But I will have to be careful, obviously, coming into turn 1. It can get very messy, and just as we finish the free practice session, the weather kind of switches twice. Very, very sudden, but we are off for the Spanish Grand Prix. Not a very good start, in fact, a very rubbish start, as I lose a whole bunch of positions. I went to P18 already as we come into turn 1 very cautiously, and I lose another position to Nicholas Latifi here, down in 19th, now 20th, as Russell tries to get around me, but I do manage to pull out ahead of him through turn 4 as we head down into turn 5, trying to get around Latifi. We need to get all those positions back because that was very, very bad. As we come into the hairpin, I poke my nose in front of Latifi, and that's enough. So we are back up into P19. A lot of places left, and the
Yellow flag.
lap 2 here, and there is a yellow flag. Mick Schumacher, sorry, is out of the race, and here is a replay coming through turn 4 here. There he is. There's smoke coming out of the engine, and my teammate Artem Markolov decided to crash into him because of course he did. Why wouldn't he? And there is Mick Schumacher pulling to the side, and that's his race out. And here is a look at our dear teammate who doesn't know how to drive, apparently. Here it is again, on board with Artem Markolov. Didn't even try to avoid crashing into him. We drove straight into the back of him. But moving on to lap 5 as I catch up to Giotto and manage to overtake him on the front straight, brake late into turn 1, and that's P16. Now on to lap 7 and catching up to Guan Yuzhou, and I managed to overtake him as well. But at the end of this lap I will have to come in for pits, so into the pits, but that is it. And here we are coming into the pits. I brake a little bit way too late. I was trying to, actually I'm not quite sure what I was trying to do, but that awards me a 5-second penalty, which isn't very good, so I will have to contend with that on top of everything else. So this is going to be a very tough race going forward, but we are back into the race. 2.7 second stop, a little bit on the short side. I would have liked it to be faster, but well, not much that I can do now. Nothing happened until lap 8 as someone is in the pits. In fact, Giotto is in the pits, so that allows us to move back into P16. And there is Giotto coming out of the pits right now. We managed to pull ahead of him, so that's really, really cool. Moving on to lap 12 now as I come through turn 2 here, and I completely botch that corner, step onto the curbs a little bit too much, and that spun me around. Luckily I didn't crash into the barrier, but we've fallen down the order quite a bit. And now moving on to the final lap of the race. Unfortunately I wasn't able to gain any more positions, but luckily I managed to pull out a gap on the guy behind me enough so that the penalty doesn't affect us. But that was a pretty disappointing end to the race, but these things happen.
They've done it then. A spectacular victory here in Spain and a massive confidence boost going into the next race. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Valtteri Bottas passes his rival to take over the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for Driver of the Day?
Definitely Antonio Giovinazzi, isn't it? No matter what the rest of the field threw at him, he didn't put a foot wrong. Superb drive from him.
Let's move on to the constructors. The lead at the top comes down after a strong weekend from the challenging pack. Meanwhile, Ferrari have improved their position. A strong weekend from them as they fight their way towards the top. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you, Crofty. Okay, so here are the results. Valtteri Bottas wins the Spanish Grand Prix with Verstappen in second, Lando Norris third, fourth Sergio Perez, fifth Daniel Ricciardo, Sainz sixth, seventh Leclerc, Alonso eighth, ninth Giovinazzi, and Pierre Gasly the last to score points. unfortunately, I finished all the way down in P18 thanks to my poor driving this weekend, but that happens, and Mick Schumacher once again retired from the race. Anyway, let's take a quick look at the overall championship. Bottas is leading the championship with Lewis Hamilton in second, and third is Max Verstappen. We are down in 15th with one single point, but hopefully we'll be able to add a little bit more. Moving on to the constructors, Mercedes are leading from Red Bull, who are second, and McLaren in third, and Hellish F1 Racing are down in 8th with 1 point, obviously. So let's move on.
So that was an exciting race from our perspective. Let's have yours.
Well,
You're breaking all expectations. What's your secret?
well, I'm trying to do my best, obviously, so, you know, I'm trying to push as hard as I can, although I'm quite disappointed about that little mistake I made towards the end of the race where I lost control of the car and lost all those positions, so, yeah. But, this is a team effort overall, so they should take more of the credit than I should.
Do you think you were lucky not to end your race with that crash?
Well, yeah, of course, that could have ended really badly. I was really close to hitting the wall, so I'm quite lucky that I was able to stay in the race.
Great. Well, that's everything.
Thank you. And we're losing our rivalry, which isn't very good, but, oh well. But we made a decent amount of money, so I'm happy about that. Okay. That is it for the Spanish Grand Prix. Quite a bit disappointed that I lost control of the car the way I did, but I don't think there's much I could have done. Well, I could have been paid more attention, obviously, but that's neither here nor there at this point. Hopefully we'll do a little bit better next time, although the next race is Monaco, and, well, I have a history of not finishing races at Monaco in Codemasters F1 games, so we'll see how that is going to pan out. But that is it for this race. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Catch you later. Bye bye.